Welcome back to Crime Time with Jess. It's been a minute, yes. So, yesterday was not only my birthday, it was also the 1 year anniversary of Dylan Rounds going missing. A case that's always struck very close to my heart. Like many of you, I had some talks with Jim Terry about his video that he obtained. I found out last year that Dylan had gotten it's not an underage consumption charge, but it's more of a charge of like someone that had like open containers, beer cans under the age of 21. Jim went ahead and fought for this video. And hi, Grandma. And he got it. So, of course, I was just highly interested in it because I'm highly interested in this case. So I wanted Jim to send it to me privately. I had no intentions of playing it. Just wanted to see Dylan's speech, his affect, the way he put together sentences, etc., etc. Jim, this video is highly telling. I will say that Jim, pretty much, I feel from front to back, I think this video is 43 minutes long, so quite long. But Jim pretty much said everything to me and a detective about what was on this video. Interesting, to say the least, because Dylan has been described in different ways. When I've talked to Kurt Wadsworth, Kurt described Dylan as cocky, forward, etc., etc. In this video, Jim describes him to me as a quote unquote simp. A very meek person, a person that the cop pulls out of the car because there was a crime being committed by Dylan and his friend. And so Dylan's pulled out of the car, and Jim describes to me that he threw his friend under the bus right away, saying, I didn't throw those beer cans, he did. He's 21. Potentially so. I mean, if you're 18 and your friend's 21 and there's open beer cans and stuff like that, you are not legal, and you know that. So there's something that I've wanted to say for a long time, and I feel like I've alluded to it a lot, but it's more or less that the things that we know, quote unquote, about this case are just simply untrue. And I think about this because the picture that has been put forth about Dylan is like this poor farmer kid that just worked his tail off and went missing. And there's a lot more to it than that. And I understand why his family has released what they've released. If it was my child, I'm not going to say, hey, these are all the problems on our family and all the problem my kid. More or less, I would say my kid is missing and please help me. So I understand why things haven't been always painted correctly. But from what I know behind the scenes and people that are quote unquote in the know, I guess, Dylan is he's human. That's what he is. He's human. He definitely did things wrong. And if you were ever 18 and you don't have a single story of doing something wrong, well, I'm happy for you, but I definitely do. So, again, when I talked to Jim, we talked about this video and how crazy telling it was. I don't want to say too much. It is Jim's video, but he did describe. Oh, here's Jim now, and I'll let him go ahead and speak. Hey.
Have you heard the word?
What's the word? Bird is the word.
Jesus has risen.
Really? Is Laura Vallow still alive or no?
I have no idea who that is. Is that my old neighbor? I don't know.
No, she just was convicted of killing her 2 children and her new husband's wife. But anyway, So I was just saying, Jim, that well, I want to skip to this part because what touched me is that you're not a touchy guy. You're kind of straightforward and a bit of a prick, and people, you get on people's nerves and yada yada. But I've always said to people, you have information. But what touched me with this is when we really started talking about this video behind the scenes. Um, you specifically referenced a particular part in this video about Dylan Rounds, and it was when the cop said to him, "Go ahead."
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
You said that when the cop said to him, correct. I'm not going to quote this because I can't quote it, but essentially, if you don't stop doing bad things are going to happen to you. And you said to
Stupid.
me
You
several
said stupid things. If you keep doing stupid things and bad things are going to happen to you.
Yeah, but you said to me several times that it just kind of brought tears to the eyes, and that's because you know what's already happened.
I'm going to tell you why it brought tears to my eyes. Okay, and I'm an emotional person. I'm not a prick. I'm emotional, but emotion could be anger. It doesn't have to be always being upset or sad or somber. I'm going to tell you why it was emotional because it's give and take on this case, and it's what I've said from minute one when I was involved in it. Here's a kid with a brand new truck in an area where most people don't have driver's licenses. You got people still driving around that town in three-wheel ATVs, which in 90% of the country isn't even legal anymore. I don't think they made one of those after 1987. You got a kid whose family's got money. He's got grandparents. He's got parents. He's got brothers and sisters. And he's in a desert with quote-unquote squatters. And you got a truck on the side of the road that's brand new and doesn't even have plates. He looks dusty. He looks dirty. And after listening to him talk, most people have said, well, does he have autism? I don't know. Was he ever diagnosed with autism? I get that question a lot after some people have seen this privately. I don't know. He's very uneducated. You can tell the difference between the 21-year-old and the 19-year-old that has an education. It's light years different between their communication skills, their social skills. It's a difference between a kid who has been in church, a kid who has been in the classroom. But the part that upsets me is that anybody that could think that that young man could be put in the desert with those animals a year and a half before this video was even taken and think it was a good idea. And just like a brand new truck, and just like a kid in the desert with no housing, no water, no cameras, and no communication, it's a truck, a brand new truck without license plates. And is that a crime? Not really. Does it really matter? I guess not. But it's sad to me and brought tears to my eyes because it showed that this kid, out of the three siblings in that family, was obviously the black sheep. And he was stashed down there thinking that he would just be able to do his own thing. And it ended up costing him his life. That's why it was sad. Not because
I'm not going to disagree with you. And I've never disagreed with this just because of everything that we know on the flip side of that. I'm just not going to disagree. But I feel like this video that you have is so telling just simply because I know you said that somebody else released some video of him. But me personally, a person that's very closely followed this case, again, my birthday, day went missing, yada, yada. But I've never seen Dylan in any kind of movement. And what I've thought about this, and you haven't showed it to me, but what I've thought about it is, even if his demeanor was kind of simpish, because you did describe him that way, and I can see it. I can actually see it. But is it because he's talking to the cops? I mean, we all get a little like, Go ahead.
I'll tell you what it is. His buddy's not that way, and his buddy talks to the cop. His buddy actually almost verbally attacks the cop at the end and starts being demanding, which is where this thing really gets off. First of all, in order to explain the video, you have to understand what the video is about, why I have it, and why it's important. and why
Yeah.
we released it in what they're calling trickles. For the last 2.5, 3 weeks that we've been promoting this, everybody said it doesn't exist. I'm a liar. I don't have it. It's then we show some of it because we're
Jim,
not ready
I'm
to
the
show.
one that told you that he had these charges. You did not know about them. You guys went the extra mile and actually
Well,
got
hold on. Let me
this.
correct you there because we found the video of Kurt Wadsworth and Ellen Berg drunk at the bar on our show. Kurt Wadsworth made one appearance visually on our show, and we could not find it, and it was driving me crazy. And it is now uploaded to my Rumble channel. If you go to Jim Terry TV Live or Jim Terry TV on Rumble, the video was released 72 hours ago. It is Kurt Wadsworth obliterated drunk in a bar, whichever bar, I don't even remember, with Ellen Berg falling all over each other, making weird comments, and you see him actually answer these questions. The first time I ever heard about it was from Kurt Wadsworth. Now, the story that he gave was a little bit different. It was a 7-Up can, he said. Really, it was a beer can. Now, maybe that's just his memory or him trying to make it look like the kid didn't drink. Dylan had an alcohol problem. There's no doubt about it. And the mother is going to say, and the people are going to say,
Oh,
well,
hang on a second, Jim. So Arizona Traveler, that's your buddy.
I don't
Has
even know who he is. Hold on. I have no idea who he is.
Okay, well, he knows who you are. Anyway,
Of course, a
he's
lot of
saying
people do.
well, yeah, whatever. You know what, Jim? Whatever. Has anyone from his family tried to reach out since you started to release this? Jim would have to answer that, but I will say for myself, I was on the phone with Taylina earlier. We had a long conversation. She does have, she has updates on the horse. She has updates on the dog. Everybody thinks the horse, something happened to the horse, which it did. It passed away. She can tell you why. And where the dog is, everybody thinks she has a dog. She doesn't have a dog. She knows who has the dog. But there's just different things. Yeah, I mean, her and I had a very frank and a very honest conversation. And it's been months since I've talked to Tay. But I enjoyed our conversation today.
I talked to her 2 weeks ago on the phone.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I mean, if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say anything that's going to offend your buddy. I just, I'm going to shoot you straight.
Who?
Well, I was told by a social worker or some sort of a woman that was a confidant of the Wadsworth's family a bunch of goofy shit about that family. And they wanted me to go public with it on my show. They were conspiracy.
Well, that's just an asshole move. Because here's what you have to think. Is this the Wadsworth reality show? Or is this about Dylan Rounds?
Okay, well,
because
listen.
To me, it's about Dylan Rounds.
Okay, we have got to get over the narrative that you're pushing that Kurt Wadsworth is
a narrative, Jim.
That Kurt Wadsworth is not a major part of this story. He is a major.
Me and Taylina were talking about that earlier. If he was never friends with Dylan, didn't know Dylan, there would be nothing to think about. But because of their close proximity in a lot of different ways, a lot of different things said, there's going to be some questions. A lot of them. She gets it. It just
I don't
is
think
what
they
it
do.
is.
I don't think they do.
I think
why this is. No, they don't. Because Kurt Wadsworth told us on that same Rumble show on Jim Terry TV on Rumble that Dylan spent anywhere from 70 to 90 nights staying in his trailer or in that bar, sleeping on pool tables.
I don't know an exact number, but it was a lot.
He said 70 to 90. Now, let me tell you something, and I made this analogy on another show. Because this isn't a debate. This is fact. If my roommate in football, and I've had roommates maybe less than a handful of times in college or in pro football, if my roommate I didn't have a roommate this year in arena football. I had one 3 years ago. He came in, they put the players in a hotel. He was there for 2 days. If he would have went missing, I wouldn't have waited for weeks and months to explain to police that he stayed there for 2 nights. I would tell him right away. If he had stayed with me for 70 or 80 days, I wouldn't say there's a psychic and this and that and screaming.
You know what? I'm glad you're bringing this up, and here's why.
I would have went to the cops immediately.
He didn't say talked about this earlier.
You're going to keep Jess, if you're gonna keep interrupting me every time I make a point that hurts your buddy, I got it. I can't do this. What I'm
Listen, whenever your narcissism flares its little ugly head, go ahead, Jim.
no.
What I
Let me
was going
finish
to
my
say.
point here. You're interviewing me.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the one with the videotape. I'm the one with the
I'm about to
knowledge. I'm the
camera
one that
up
was.
just so you can see my face.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much. Jim Terry TV Tuesday on Rumble. We'll release it there. God bless.
He can't do it. That's why.
Do an interview,
Bye,
right?
Jim.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jim. Bye-bye. Oh, I'll look him. Just, cuss up a storm. So I talked to Taylina about that earlier. And I said, you and your dad seem to still be, kind of backing the James Brunner frame thing. And we got into a pretty deep discussion about being in denial, and that Kurt, it's possible with Kurt, that James lived with him for a year. James Brunner lived with Dylan in a hotel room working for 2 months. So he lived with these people. So it's kind of like Kurt is in this weird denial mode. Like, what? Like, I knew you beat somebody up in like a parking lot of a gas station, but like dismembering our other friend over some shit. Like, I don't know. Oh yeah, Lauren. Listen, Jim. I already told you guys. Jim's been in crazy rare form today. He'll come out of it. Whatever. But I really kind of want to talk to Tay because we just have better conversations. I mean, me and Jim can have good conversations as well, but he's in his own world today. I'm gonna mute this because I'm gonna call Taylina, and if she wants to answer, she will. And if I'm gonna ask her if she wants to come on, and yada. I don't like to surprise people and like, oh, you're live now. So just give me a sec. Okay, so no. That link, no, Grandma. That link is for Taylina. So she's trying to get somewhere to park, and we're gonna hear from her. But yeah, what everyone was talking about the other day with the horse, the dog, Brenner's dog, she can talk about those sorts of things. Again, Jim is just in Jim rare form today, and he can say what he wants, but he's in rare damn form. He's on my damn nerves. So I'm gonna take a pee break. You guys do what you do. I'll be right back, and just give me like 2 minutes, I guess, maybe 3. I don't know. Okay, I'm back. So the whole reason, sorry, Grandma. Hey, Blue Gold. The whole reason for this live stream is because Jim got again a video of Dylan Rounds. I found out a long time ago, and actually, I think told him about it, but that Dylan had gotten stopped, and there was like a not an underage consumption charge. I can't remember the exact wording of the charge, but it was basically having alcohol in your possession and being underage and whatever. So Jim and Mr. X, I probably Mr. X, a lot of credit for him, but he worked to get this body cam footage off of a police officer, which they obtained, which is great because not to show a particularly bad side of Dylan, but more just again speech pattern, how he talked, his affect, things of that nature. Jim told me last I talked to him, he had watched it like 4 times, and then Mr. X said about 6 times. So they've studied this video. I wish Jim was not like on his monthly today because I think he's definitely on his period, like day 2. You guys know how that is. But either way, he's just been in rare form. Wish he would come on and like just talk about this damn video because it really does show kind of just who Dylan was, and then you contrast that with who Kurt. Kurt talked a lot about who Dylan was, his personality, and things like that. And it's not that I think that either one is a lie. It's more that I think that we all have a face that we show the world, and then we all have a face that we show, like law enforcement or things like that. So I think a big deal is being made out of it, but it's not necessarily that. So yeah, Jim's on day 2 of his period. It happens to the best of us. Just gonna let him. We're gonna let him do that. Voice for the voiceless. Hi, how are you? I feel like I've seen your. Do you have a channel? I feel like I've seen your channel before. She's probably gone for a smoke. No, actually, I used the bathroom. Let me see, Blue. Hi, Blue. I love you too, Blue. But yeah, I see Lauren's not commenting anymore. People come for Jim, and they can cover Jim. I don't know if Jim's channel's back up, not back up, whatever. Me and Jim's link has always been this case, so I expect him to speak on that. Not everything else. Sketchy as fuck. What's up? Peace up, peace down. Oh, here's Tay. Let's patch her in. Hi, lovely.
Hello.
All right. So I don't know if you watched the beginning of this. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Probably.
I caught a few minutes of it.
So we were talking about the horse because I found out the horse passed away. People had a big thing with that. Sketchy. Yada 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 yada. Not sketchy the person that's in here, but just they felt that way. So I thought I'd let you speak on that for a minute.
We took it to the vet after it started laying
Well,
down.
let's stop just for a minute, Tay. So
Uh-huh.
Taylina got James Brunner's horse. There was nowhere else for it to go. Stop me when I'm wrong, Tay.
Okay.
But you ended up taking this horse.
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
We had the horse for a few months, and in the first part of December, it just started laying down, and it wouldn't get up. And it would lay down for the whole day. We'd go out and wrestle it, get it up. It'd lay back down within an hour. So we took it into the vet, and the vet told us that it had cancer and that it had a really bad heart murmur, and that the winter cold makes that worse. It makes it harder on him. And that was likely why he was laying down all day. And the vet gave us the choice of putting him down or, giving him a few more days and he would be gone anyway. So we chose to put him down so that he wasn't in pain It wasn't something that we could maintain for months or years with pain medication. He was too far with the cancer and stuff. So we chose
How
to put
old
him
was
down,
he?
and they guesstimated between 17 and 20 years old.
Oh wow. So he was definitely an elderly, of course.
Yeah. Yep.
So everyone has this question about the dog, and even I got confused about it because I thought you were given the dog, and then I was like, no, she wasn't given the dog.
No.
So who got James Brenner's dog?
Dawn took the dog,
Yeah.
and he's always had the dog since Jim was taken to jail. He's had the dog.
And as far as we know, this dog is still alive, or we don't know, or
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the dog's still alive. The dog was only, I want to say, 2 or 3 years old. He wasn't very old.
so Don still has him. We were talking earlier. I haven't divulged a lot of what we said. It's been a lot of months since we talked, but we had a long conversation just about various things. But one thing that we talked about was that your father, Kurt, still thinks there's some framing going involved. And, I was like, well, if there was a question that I would have for Kurt, it would be, well, if not Brunner, then who? But I think we kind of got to a point where we were like, there's a lot of denial here because your dad and Brenner lived in your dad's home for a year.
Yeah. And I mean, think about it with anybody. You live with someone, you become friends with them. You don't always know their past and their bad history because most people don't divulge all that. So when all this come down, he's looking back like, oh my goodness, I lived with this guy. I would have never suspected he'd ever do anything like that. And that could have been my dad too. You live with someone who's now a murderer, who could have been a murderer in the past. And how do you deal with that?
Right.
That's
Well,
not a
it would be
common
the
thing.
same
Most
thing
people
for
don't get
Dylan.
told that their roommate's a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would imagine same thing for Dylan. I mean, Dylan did live for Brenner, or live with Brenner, sorry, for a couple of months
Mm-hmm.
while they were working together. And that's a weird thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if this was one of my good friends, one of my friends, and then what? You're telling me that my good friend chopped up my other friend and killed him? Like, what are you talking about? I
Yeah. And
imagine. Yeah.
we haven't seen any evidence of anything. All we've got is hearsay. I mean, they've charged a person, but in the United States, you're innocent till proven guilty. So, if you go off of that notion too, he still hasn't seen anything that says, hey, this guy's guilty of this. And in his mind, he just can't fathom that that could have happened that way. So when he sees the evidence, it'll sit different. But at this point, we're all going off of hearsay. No one knows what the evidence truly is.
Well, there's facts, and the facts are there's been one person that has been charged with first-degree murder and in Dylan's death, and that's James Brenner. That's a fact, and that's the only fact that we know. Do I suspect guilty knowledge? I said this to you privately. I'll say it to you publicly. Yes. Um, your father is still an enigma to me. I think I've always described Kurt that way. It's probably why he hated me because I'm a bit of an enigma too. But I don't think we needed to be enemies. It just, like I said to you privately, Haley, or not Haley, I'm sorry, Brenner, seems like a very unintelligent person to me. And you agree with that?
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like, because after Dylan's disappearance, I mean, your dad said, him and Haley came to the bar. And I feel like Brenner would be dumb enough, if you will, to just blurt out some stuff. And I feel like your dad and Haley would be smart enough to say, holy shit, did we just hear that? Are we drunk? Did that just happen? I don't know. That's not what I want to believe. It's something I don't know, but I don't know if we'll ever know. Do I believe that your dad murdered Dylan? No. Do I believe that Don Haley murdered Dylan? No. I do believe that it was Brenner. And I think Jeff Ross has done his job. You've had interactions with him, as have I. And I just feel like they've done their job. Whether there were other factors involved or other things involved, we can speculate probably till the death of us. But I feel like the one that allegedly committed the crime probably committed the crime. And you don't have to speak tech. I know that you guys have your own thoughts and opinions, and you guys, are very well versed in the area. So, just from an outsider looking in, that's what I see.
Yeah, and that's the evidence will tell in time when we get to that point.
And that's exactly what I've said. Like, we're really going to have to wait for the trial because you or I, do you want to get super honest here? I don't know if I've ever told you this before. I think I did. I think we laughed about this. But Ross did ask me, what do you think of Taylina? Is she the best liar ever or just a super truth teller? And I answered as honestly as I could. And I said, I think that she will do anything to protect her father. But again, I understand the dynamics of that. And Jim, if you are listening, I will not let you exploit that.
Oh, he's already tried.
Well, we're not doing that. But I do understand your loyalty to your father. I'm not saying that Kurt did something to Dylan. Again, the FBI has determined there is one person that is guilty of this crime, and that is James Brenner. And there has not been a single other person that's been charged or suspected in anything, and that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is I know for a fact that he didn't have anything to do with it because I was personally there. I'm not saying this based off of someone else's words. I was there. I was with him. I was next to him for all those days, along with 15 other people. It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to take my dad's word for it and protect him. I was there. I know where he was. I know what he was doing. I saw Dylan. I talked to Dylan. I'm not just trying to protect someone. The fact is, it's protecting myself just as much because I was there.
Well, that's what I'm currently being accused of protecting you and your father. And I've been, uh, you know, that's what's said about me for a long time, but that's just not the truth. I've always thought, and I said that to you today, that maybe your dad found out things after the fact in the bar. Brenner being the less intelligent person and just blabbing off the mouth. But you did say, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, we've had many discussions and talks about the things that they said when they came to town. And even after Jim was in jail and listed as a suspect, my dad talked to Don, and Don still told him, no, I don't know anything. And Don, and Jim still says he didn't do anything. And he was really at my house for the barbecue that day. And, they both stuck to the same story that they've told all of us. Neither one of them have changed that. All I can say is I know where my dad was that weekend and who he was communicating with and what was going on because I was personally there. And I don't need anyone else out in this YouTube world to protect us because I know we didn't do anything wrong. We had no part in any of this. And I know a lot of what he likes to repeat and talk about is all the things that he's heard from the psychics and the way he believes that the psychics will solve this and his way of saying, oh, this could have happened and this could have happened and oh, this
Well,
person.
let's talk about this because we did talk about this privately. Donna Serafina, a person that I know, that, the Vallow case, Lori Vallow case, so you can follow that. You might want to. There's other cases as well. Tay, we talked about them earlier. Suzanne Morphew. She has a very insane insight with the Vallow case, particularly. I'll be honest with you guys. I was basically atheist I didn't like do some satanic weird stuff, but I just didn't go to church. And I was just like, yeah, I don't really believe in any of that. But she came across my timeline with the Vallow case, and she literally described like how both of these children were murdered, how they were buried. It was crazy eerie when I think it was maybe 5 or 6 months later that they had found the bodies and there was a preliminary trial, and you had the FBI agents that were out there like digging up their bodies, describing exactly how they were found, where they were found. And it was everything that she said. And it was so eerie to me because I was like, I feel like I already know this. So Donna, and she did that as well in the Morphew case. It's kind of pretty sad what's happening in the case at that moment, but with Kurt being willing, and I'll say this just as a person that casually reads tarot cards. I've always noticed that there's some people that are like, just please read my cards, and then there's other people that I'm like, hey, can I read your cards? And they're like, no. And I always know that when they say no, like that's where the trouble is. I don't push it, but it just is. So for Kurt to go straight to Donna, yes, I want to do a reading. Let's do this. Let's do this. Um, it kind of speaks a lot to his character. And Donna has never said this person is a victim or this person is a perpetrator or anything. So it's just kind of metaphysical world, but she has a lot of pull from the other cases that she's done. I don't know how you feel about it, Tay, but I feel like that's accurate.
And that's kind of where my dad goes back to where so many people lean on what she has to say. And in the beginning of all this, when he did that reading with her, she herself said there was more than one person involved. And that's where he's so confused. You got one person charged, but you got her saying that there's others involved, and that hasn't come to fruition at this point.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. Because there's never, but it's weird that, your dad really maintains that. And what I say to you earlier, I was like, maybe Kurt should stop saying that. But you were like, but he feels that way. That there was just
Yeah.
other things involved. So if not him, that's always been my question. Well, then who? Um, and I think you might be
And
more
that's
in.
where we come back few people that were out there. We know of, besides Jim, that were out there that had involvement in this based on their own records, their own things that they've done, the things that they've done since, so we just still wonder, is there still more people that they haven't tied to this yet? Or if they haven't, they just haven't said anything yet because, they're still pulling data, they're still pulling information. We don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this would haunt your entire family. Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to come of this rumor, of this? Troy being pulled over right after, Dylan's disappearance, the money, all of these things. Like, even if you have, let's just call them, for lack of a better term, don't agree, don't say anything, but just maybe more shadier dealings. It doesn't always equate to murder. The more again, this is our 1 year anniversary yesterday of Dylan going missing. So I feel like this is my gut feeling, but there was a lot more going on. There were a lot of things. You don't just meet people from small towns. There's nothing happening. There's always things happening. But who's involved? Why? But ultimately, I'm going to go with what I think the FBI is going with, and that Brenner snapped. And I know your dad doesn't want to see that because he thinks of Brenner a certain way, but I just feel like that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's to be seen at this point. Like, we know he's been charged, but for him to be convinced, he's going to have to see that evidence.
Well, I think it's confusing to me and confusing to others because Kurt has always maintained a public image of loyalty to Dylan, disdain for Dylan of being a little young, a hole, but loyalty in a certain respect, and then with his other friends. So I think this puts him in the spot of what do you do? Do you
Sure. Yeah.
say, yeah?
I don't
So
think he even knows still what to do.
I don't think so either. So I just don't know if he's going to be called for court. If he is, if he isn't, I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. I don't even think I asked you about that. But
Nothing's been said at this point, but they're not to a point where they're even going to start calling people as witnesses or anything.
yeah, we're not that far along in the process.
Mm.
But
And
it
honestly,
is
if
when
they've
I'm.
got,
Well, go ahead, Ty.
I was gonna say, if they've got that much forensic data and all this stuff on him, it would basically be the defense calling people in as witnesses, and that would
Well,
be
yeah,
it.
yeah, and I'm sorry this is not super exciting for people and not a bunch of drama that they want to hear, but it just is what it is. Like I said to you earlier, and I like your rebuttal to it, that I feel like after the fact, because I talked to Kurt, not too long after Dylan disappeared. And he said that Haley and Brenner came into his bar. And so I always kind of had it in my mind that they talked a lot and there were things said. So I always looked at Kurt like, what do you really know, Kurt? But I look at other factors like him being very willing to talk to a psychic that has a crazy good reputation, a lot of people respect, and then also him not really backing down from interviews. I know that you said that 4 months ago or so that Kurt had just kind of stopped with it, which probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
this is just this maddening cycle of going back
yeah.
and forth on my family where it's quiet for a little while and then everyone wants to start all these lies and drama and twisting things, and it's all for the sake of getting them some views, and I'm getting tired of it. It's getting old, and there's several that are doing it, and I don't understand why. Either
Will
they're
you let me have about 2 minutes and just speak on the horse or the dog? My daughter is trying to get my attention from the door. I have to be a mama. I have to be a mama. She's over here doing some weird sign. I see you, Aubrey. She's doing some weird sign language. She might be hungry. But if you just want to talk about the horse or the dog, because again, everybody thinks that you have the dog. You do not. Don Haley has the dog accordingly, and I believe you may not believe Tay. I don't know what you believe, but I believe that Don Haley is going to be the witness that has immunity, and that yeah. But
and
I
he
got
very well
it.
could be. He very well could be. We don't know because we know the state redacted their witness so that there was no names there, and we don't know who it was. So, and I find it very weird that there's a comment in here about Chase and all the finger being pointed at him. Chase is still someone that we still wonder if he was involved. No one's stopped pointing the fingers from our camp because we know he was out there. And he's also crazily been released from jail 11 months after being charged on stolen gun charges as a felon. How do you get out of jail with 11 months served and you're just done? You're out. It shocks me that you can be, and he's got a really damn bad record with standoffs with the police in Salt Lake and all sorts of things. And yet here he is with these guns and tactical stuff that he stole, and he gets 11 months served and gets let out. That to me is crazy. Did he get some sort of plea deal? We don't know, because those are the kind of things they keep under wraps. but I do know he's out. Jim is not released. Just James. Chase. James Brenner won't be released. There's no way he can bail himself out. And I don't know Chase did get put into the mental house for a little bit. We did hear about that. But I don't know how he got out so easy. I mean, come on, he had to be a little bit mental to do what he did with his standoffs and things that he had in years past. Why wouldn't they keep someone like that behind bars? He's a dangerous person. He's a danger to society. And yet they give him 11 months and put him out the door. I'm just amazed. Chase has already been out to Montello and went back to Salt Lake. So we do know he's out. I don't know who else. There was another question here. I don't know where it went. Yes, Chase is the person who we know had been out to the Lucin Pond the day that Dylan disappeared. And the Monday morning of Memorial last year, he was seen on cameras with Robert digging up stuff in some property. And it was the guns and stuff that they found a few days later in his motorhome. And from police reports, we've seen that the guns were taken out of his motorhome by way of a friend. And that was where they found him, was in the friend's house. That there's just so many weird things that happened over those couple days that seem like they've got some sort of intertwining to what happened to Dylan, and we just don't know where it all sits and what actually went down. They were hiding. Chase dug holes and hid a lot of things, and we've found many of those holes out and around, and he would steal things from people and hide them until he could take them to Utah somewhere to take them to a pawn shop. He did that a lot. So, but there was also weird sightings and different things that happened within those few days after of Robert, and things that were said, and this is where we're there and we see all this and we hear all this. This is where we get the ideas that there possibly could be other people involved, or people that saw something out there. This could be another thing why they have the redacted witnesses. Maybe there's a chance that Chase or Robert saw something. We do know that the phone was found in the pond. Did they happen to be there and then just see that Jim was doing something? And maybe they're the ones that are the redacted witness? We just don't know. So, I don't know. Does anybody else have any other questions? Chase is a different duck. He is. He's got some issues, and he's done some really bad things. And yes, Donna did say that there were other people involved, and that's another thing where my dad relies so much on psychics. He goes back to that and says, well, all these psychics are saying that there were more than one person involved. And, we don't know who they were, obviously. And they could have helped after the fact. We've heard comments from other people saying that they say that they know Jim did this and they know Jim did that. Well, how do they know that if they weren't involved is what I don't understand. I don't know how you can go around making comments to people about Jim putting bits and pieces of Dylan in different places of the desert unless they were directly involved to know that. I hear her talking, but I'm not sure if she's actually back in the room or not.
No, I'm back. I'm sorry, I was listening to it, but I was watching his chat. I had to make all of something to eat, but I totally agree. Like, I'm just reading this. NorCal girl saying, "I hope your dad and family are doing well, Taylina." But everything that we're talking about and what you were saying, like, is there any other questions? Like, what else do you guys want us to answer? Tay, if I'm being honest, yes. Is there shady things within your family? I think you would agree, yes.
There is in every family,
Yes. But we have to look at the circumstances and what's involved here. Where was Kurt? What was happening? There was a family gathering happening when Dylan went missing last year. You guys are not having that this year. I would imagine that's because of Dylan. If
No,
not, then
it's
fine.
it's actually because I'm usually the one that hosts that big party down there. I take, all of my kids and some of our other family and our friends, and we go down. We've got the family that lives there. Well, my husband just had a disc replacement done in his back. We can't sleep in our trailer. We don't have anywhere down there for him to sleep. He has to be in a recliner for the next 3 months. And we don't, we can't take him down there at this point. He's not supposed to travel. He's not supposed to be doing all of those things after having this disc replacement done. So it was taken out of our hands this year, or we would have been down there. We just can't. And I don't understand why people think that it's because of these nefarious things. It's not. It's simply because that is just how the surgery happened. It happened last Tuesday. We're not even a week out of my husband's surgery. We can't go down there and do the big celebration we usually do. We just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like that, of course, obviously. I don't know if you've kept your husband's name private. I will, but if not, so be it. But either way, he had that. But it's kind of a weird time. It is the 1 year anniversary of Dylan missing and yada yada. Your dad was very close to him, and all of these kinds of things. It's just going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of what ifs, what was, what it, all of that. I wish Jim was not in rare form today, where he could actually have a discussion. When Jim wants to get fired up, he does. I think you know that about him today. I do as well. But when he wants to actually come on and have an actual discussion, he can do that as well. He's just not in the mood for it, apparently. So I'm not going to have him on for that. I seen that we were supposed to do a video yesterday, which was my birthday, and again Dylan's 1 year of missing. But he ended up doing that on a different channel because I just was not in the mood for it, to be honest. Last year, this case just really, and I said this to you, Tay, earlier, just kind of flipped my world upside down. And so this year, I really did want to enjoy just time with family and friends and things like that. But I know that for you guys and for everybody that actually knew Dylan, met him, interacted with him, it still has to be a haunting thing. Which is where I found, you talking about basically your dad's denial and Brenner's guilt or innocence or whatever. Telling. Because I really have to kind of put myself in Kurt's shoes and say, if I let this person live with me for a year, I clearly trust them. You might have a temper, but I'm not like expecting you to chop up one of our other friends and do all this kind of stuff. So I kind of feel like Kurt, just talking to you, and it's always been through you with Kurt, but sometimes different. But I kind of feel like, yeah, Kurt is in a little bit of denial of holy shit. Could this guy that lived with me for a year have done this? The FBI is saying yes. And I feel like Kurt's probably like, well, this is not, I mean, I knew he would fight somebody in the parking lot of a gas station, didn't matter. But I didn't think he was going to like dismember, my little buddy. Something of that nature. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the things that you don't know how to deal with those things and he still hasn't figured out how to deal with it. Not everybody has a ton of trauma in their life to know how to process this stuff.
Right.
And everybody processes things differently.
Well, that's what always
that
brings me back to the Kurt instance. It's just really Donna Serafina, because I know that if she had felt something from him that was off, she would probably, like I told you, not have published it or just taken it down or something. But no, She hasn't. So it's just a thing where I feel like Donna Serafino knows he didn't do anything with this. Um, Maybe I don't know. I don't know. My own private speculation is just Kurt. What the hell did Brenner say to you afterwards? So is my private speculation. But I mean, according to you and according to Kurt, there wasn't anything.
No, and I wish there would have been. I wish that because this case would be done. Had he said something that would have led to something, we wouldn't still be sitting here. I mean, he still hasn't gotten back to his normal of life. If he knew something that could do something to solve this, it would have been solved. He doesn't want to deal with this anymore either.
Yeah. So he's just kind of like, so just to give a brief rundown, because I told you earlier, I don't really know what the hell with Jim and Salty's channel and then battling back and forth, all that nonsense. Because that's what I got worried about. I mean, like I told you, it's not a lie. I did talk to your mother, understood some Wadsworth family dynamic. Me and Jim did talk about that. But it's irrelevant to Dylan's case at this point. So, Jim's all fired up. I think he said Salty's channel has been taken down. This is how much I pay attention to these people. I don't care. But it does lend context to what is being said. So, Salty's channel taken down. Jim's Terry channel taken down. Correct.
I'm not really sure on Jim's. I don't know if his is gone forever or if it's just a strike. I don't know.
No, I tell him to fight it. But I don't know. I'm seeing weird comments, yummy, and I'm hungry. Can you tell me? Ha! I have no idea, Cluckers. I don't know. I honestly do not watch either of their channels. Sometimes Jim, like I was telling Tay earlier, sometimes Jim will talk me into like watching something like this is about Dylan. You gotta watch it. So I will. But it's never nothing that I have not known from very early on. Like I talked to Kurt very early on, T very early on, and there was just a lot of information. But I didn't feel like the majority of that information, honestly, had to do with Dylan disappearing or his murder. So Kurt has always been a centerpiece of a beacon of information, Tay as well. But as far as suspects, I mean, Brenner he's the one. He's been the one that's been charged by the FBI, and I feel like I have to constantly remind people of this, but it's just the freaking truth. That is the person that's facing charges for Dylan's murder, and Kurt himself, is struggling with the idea that hold up, my friend that lived with me for a year, that lived with Dylan for a couple months. You did this? Okay. So it's a mind F. It just really is. But it is what it is. I don't know all the information. Neither is Taylina, neither is Kurt, neither is a lot of these people. Chase. But we know it's been made public. Tay, you were saying something about Chase Ventura earlier. What was it again? Just remind me, please.
I was just talking about how he somehow got out of jail with 11 months served on felony gun stolen charges when he's already a felon. How does that work?
Yeah, because we're trying to figure out who is the person Taylina question above. Grandma, what did you ask? But what were we?
So there's people in here. So Jim and a few other people started claiming that I put my dad in the loony bin. This is something Bob Farrell and a bunch of them have been talking about. It is completely untrue. It's completely untrue. He's never been diagnosed with dementia. He doesn't have any memory problems. He's never been put into a loony bin. No. And I don't know why people have to start stories with their drama, but they do. And it gets old. It gets really fucking old.
Yeah. No, I've never heard any of that. But anyway, so we were talking about prior to the loony bin with Kurt because I don't think Kurt's ever been in a loony bin ever. Have me and Kurt got extremely intoxicated on a live stream? Yes. I take that down. I got in trouble for that. But I mean, that was a real live stream. I mean, that was literally just me and Kurt. There was no backstory. There was no plotting. There was just like, hey, I've had a lot to drink. Have you? Yes. You want to go live? Yes. I'm supposed to be on Zap Girl right now. My bad. And we just went live. It was literally sauce. But you get in all these drama stream, chroma stream, whatever the hell they call themselves. And, you know, they just try to dox people and do all this wild nonsense. Who needs that? Not me. And what's crazy about it, and what bothers me about it, is that my analytics show about 95% women. So I gotta talk to women for a minute. Why do you guys love the freaking drama so much? If you want to hear about a case, if you want inside a case, here's Kurt Wadsworth's daughter. Kurt obviously declared Dylan missing, and now we know declared murdered. Why do you want to attack this person? Why do you want to go all in? Ask questions? Sure. But just attack and go crazy on? Why? For what reason? Hold on, Tay. I'm going to step out for another minute if you want to take this over. No, you can do it. I swear. Cynthia was a dud. But if you would ever like to be my true crime, commentator, I'm totally open to it. I'm stepping out.
Yeah, Dell, I have.
Let me say.
I have talked to Dell a couple times on Warlike Wrath channel, and I don't understand why people figure out who I am. What? Yeah. I don't know why people can't figure out who the hell I am. They ask me questions and I answer them, and then they act like they don't know who I am, and I'm not telling the truth. And I'm just so tired of all this drama and all the bullshit and how it circles back around my family constantly. And Jim likes to make up the most ridiculous shit that I've ever heard. Now, it's going from me being divorced to doing drugs to it's just ridiculous. I've had the same career for 24 years. I've raised 5 children. I'm not a liar. I don't have a bad record. I'm not a felon. I don't have any reason to lie. And I just get so sick of everybody twisting everything around. It bothers me, and I get sick of it. And I've tried to step back. I've tried to stay out of it. I've tried to not involve myself in it because I don't want to hear it and deal with it. And then I get people saying, oh, did you hear this about you? And did you hear they're saying this about you? And it gets old. All of it does. They've made up so many lies, and there's still so many people that miss things that were said in the past. So they bring them up again and bring them up again, when honestly, none of it has anything to do with Dylan. Where's Dylan, or who hurt Dylan, or anything? They just want to trash my family, and I do not understand why. It's just this back and forth thing, and it's between Salty, it's between Jim. Now Jim's got Bob doing it. I'm tired of it. And I don't know when people are going to stop and actually see that these people all just want to spread a bunch of lies, and they don't stop with it. They just keep going, and they just add another lie. Once that one gets debunked, they find another lie. And I'm tired of it all. I've had to step back because I'm tired of all this bull crap with people and the things that they say. And they need to go back to the fact of, how do we find Dylan? Do we talk to Jim? Do we do searches? We already know this had nothing to do with my family. So they need to stop hashing us and pulling us through the mud and trashing us when we had nothing to do with this. Nothing at all. We haven't done anything wrong. We haven't done anything that we felt like was hurtful to the family or anyone else. We took the horse in because This horse was one that my dad helped Jim buy. And when Dawn called and said, look, the horse is running around at her. There's no water. There's no food. It can't stay out here alone. And I ain't got anything at my place. It needs to come to you. My dad said, sure, let's get it down here and we'll take care of it. So I wasn't trying to just leave that horse out there to die in the desert either. I didn't feel like that was right just because of who owned the horse last. That's not right. But people trash us as a family for that horse. Horse didn't do anything wrong. So, I see some people that stick up for me and my family, and I see a lot that go the opposite direction. And a lot of that is because they believe the lies that come out of mainly Jim and Mike, who I thought, Mike was a little better at telling the truth and not making up the lies, but that in fact has not been true lately. He's doing the opposite. So I have to step back and do what I have to do for my family. And, if I didn't get to do my grandma's celebration this year, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint everyone, but I couldn't. We just physically couldn't do it this year. There's many trolls. There's lots of those. They don't ever seem to go away. So, and does anyone else have any other questions why I'm on here that I can answer? I felt bad taking Briscoe and then having to put him down, knowing that was, not our intent with the poor horse. We really hoped we could keep him longer, but because he was a good horse. That horse was very well trained and was a very good horse. Wasn't wild, like you've heard others say. That horse was not wild. That horse was a roping horse. It was not wild. I'm not upset because we're not in Montello. This is just a lie that Jim has started in the last few days of why we're not in Montello this year. He started spreading lies about things, and he doesn't like it when he gets called out with his lies and his bullshit. But the fact is we physically couldn't be down there this year, or we would have been. So we're just going to change the date and do it in a couple months from now. Grandma's understanding of that. This isn't her first birthday. And my dad's doing as well as he can, but he's still in this limbo state of not knowing where Dylan is and all of this drama that it needs to be settled and it needs to be stopped. So
Definitely
he's
not grandma's
doing
first
what he
can. But yes, no, the not meeting in Montello, I was like, what's going on? And I assumed that it had to be with Dylan. Just because of all of the heat, all of the things surrounding it, I assumed that. But what I heard was something about your husband's leg.
No, he had to do a back surgery.
Oh, well, that's even worse.
And we don't get to pick out these dates. It's a major surgery, and the surgeon says this is when we're doing it. We don't get to dictate when we do it. We started this back in January, and it has taken us months to get him on the books to get it done. And it wasn't our choice. So, Grandma understands. She's not, this isn't her first birthday.
Listen, what I heard from your mother, if Grandma says it, it's gonna be what it is.
Yeah.
Just, lightheartedly say. But yeah. So, I mean, if that's what it was, but I do know that last year was a big conundrum for you guys. And I will have to say, as an outsider, and I repeat that, an outsider that's just looking at this case from outside within, the Wadsworths, you guys, had a family get together. Dylan didn't come. So I'm always looking at this case from a Dylan perspective. Where did he come in? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. So when I look at this, that you guys are not doing this year, I would assume it's because of not him, but that's not actually the case.
No, we would have still done it because that celebration, it wasn't a celebration for the last 20 years for Dylan. That was a celebration we did for both of my grandparents. Their birthdays fall within 10 days of each other. So we would pick a weekend in between and go down and do a celebration for him. My grandpa is still in the hospital in Salt Lake. He's unable to attend this year also. So grandma said, it's fine. We could do it a few months later because we're supposed to be moving grandpa to Idaho to where I can bring him with me down there. My husband will be better to go down there. It wasn't because of anything to do with Dylan. That celebration wasn't changed for anything to do with him. It was our own personal things that we have going on in our lives, as we're all human and we all have lives and we all have things that are happening, that changed the date of that.
So Dylan C is asking, Taylina, did you see any people filming out there for a documentary on Dylan?
No, we haven't seen any.
So that's a firm no. Grandma is saying, oh my God,
There are
did
things
someone go out there and do that? Which part, Grandma? Which
There's
part?
also another question here. This lady's asking about why my dad called the cops and said Dylan was being held captive. My dad never called the cops. He called Candace. Candace didn't answer. He called Karen. Karen talked to him. Then he talked to Justin. Then he talked to Candace. He had gotten that information from who he thought was a psychic. And you got to remember, my dad believes in the psychics. He thinks that they will give him the information that he needs with the different clues to put things together to solve this. So he got information from the psychic, which we later found out was actually my mother, his ex-wife, who was playing the psychic, and gave the information through my sister to my dad. My mom and my dad don't talk. So it went through my other sister to my dad. And she says, these are the clues that the psychics got. My dad started thinking about the clues, and he's like, oh my gosh, that could be this place, that could be this place. And this was also the same day that we learned that Robert and Chase had been out at the pond. We had all this information and all these things running through, and then he gets this information, puts together the clues, and starts thinking he could be held here. And honestly, he could have been. He could have been. That could have been how this went down. We know now that it didn't, but we didn't know then, because we knew that Chase and Robert had been at the pond. So it wasn't a psychic call. It wasn't something out of malicious. It wasn't something to help someone else. He simply did it because he got that information. He relayed it to Dylan's family, then asked them to come to town so they could come and search these places, hoping that they would find Dylan. It just didn't turn out that way. But he didn't do it with any sort of malicious intent. And we didn't know till days later that that psychic was actually his ex-wife. Not to say that, there was something different because it was her, because she didn't know any of the players down there or any of the characters. She doesn't go to Montello. She doesn't know any of that stuff. She just did her own reading, came up with these clues, and told my sister. That was, one of those things where everybody wants to point the finger back at my dad. He didn't do anything wrong doing that. Nothing at all. He simply felt very strongly by what the psychic tips were that he could be being held there, and they could have solved this, and they could have found him.
I kind of have to agree. I've always had a major gripe with the box outer, and I think I've made that very clear on my channel. But there were just other things. I mean, the police departments and my observation were just inept in a lot of ways. I don't know what you want to say about that, Tay, if anything, but you don't have to.
I really feel like we'd be in a different place if they would be holding press conferences, if they would be saying something. They're not saying anything. The only information we get comes from Candace. And from what I've learned is not all of that's true. So how do we know what we can believe and what we can't believe at this point?
Right.
We get so many twisted things out of her, and things that change and things that go back, and then she wants to make this excuse about this and that. And there was a question in there if I'm communicating with the family. I have talked to his dad. I've tried to talk to his mom in the first week of all this. She blew me off. She didn't want to talk to me. I was kind of flabbergasted at that. I don't know why she didn't want to talk to me, knowing that I was one of the last people to see her son.
I do have to say that I always knew from the beginning that, you made it very clear that your father was a very important person to you. But you have always been willing to talk. And I think that does say something about a person.
I honestly don't have anything to hide. I just hate how everybody twists everything and starts attacking people for no reason.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one it's happened to. I was maybe one of the
No,
first ones.
there's been a few.
Yeah,
There,
there's been a few that have become tragic victims of other creators, and for no reason. They just make up shit. And
yeah.
I don't understand what their point is or what their gain is with it. I don't understand, but just as you can see
Why
what
do you
Dell has,
guys stay away so much? That's what I
why
was trying to tell you. Like, I don't tell a quarter of the things I know. Why? Because I don't want the drama. What I do know and what's been told to me, and I've discerned myself, it just is what it is. But there's people that love to exploit. They love the clicks, the views, the cash apps, the money, the all these things. We're talking about a deceased person, but people that knew him or loved him or interacted with him. This is why I'm so highly interested in Jim's video, because again, I'll tell you. I mean, we got that very short video of Dylan on that what's it called? The electric scooter thing, whatever. And he mumbled a couple words, and that was it. So it's just kind of, this person that I've thought about for a year, taking up a year of my life, that I never knew and never will knew or know. And you guys, it's kind of, am I curious? Absolutely. I want to see his affect. I want to see his speech pattern. I want to see what he says. I want to see how he, quote unquote, moves.
well, and maybe it just needs to be that someone else needs to request this footage so we don't have to have all this drama around it from Jim. It's public. It's not like anyone else can't get it.
I mean, you know what? You make an absolutely valid point.
I don't
Because
understand why everybody's,
I could absolutely get it
yeah.
and just play it, because I would really like to watch it with my viewers and come to my own conclusions and then come to their own observations. I feel like it's the best thing.
Yeah. There doesn't have to be all this hype around it and Jim watermarking it and it's only his. It's public. He did a
No,
little bit of work to get it, but anybody can.
yeah, you could. Because it's FAOI, Freedom of Information Act. And according to Jim, it was pretty difficult to get.
Well, Jim didn't do it himself, so
No, Mr. X. And that's why I like Mr. X so much, because he's like kind of not that Jim's dumb, but Mr. X is kind of the brains behind the operation. So I look at that, I'm like, yeah, you're the guy. But could I obtain this information on my own? Sure. I wish Jim was being a grown up today. Jim, if you're listening, be a grown up today. And you could have came on and talked about this video. You chose not to. Up to you. But again, Tay, I mean, you are a person that has physically met Dylan, has spoke to him. I feel like he's been described in two different ways, like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type deal, where he was aggressive and forward and also a simp. So I almost feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle.
well, and if you think about it, he's young. When he
Yeah,
got pulled over, he was 18.
right,
Then the next year rolls around, he's 19. Kids age, they get a bigger attitude, they learn a little bit more, and things change. Their perspective in life changes. So, how do I know 3 years ago he wasn't on the other side of being a little more timid compared to where he was more recently?
right.
Uh, It happens. I mean, I've watched my own kids go through those transformations where
Well,
they were
I
this
was gonna
timid kid
say,
and they're not, you
yeah,
know?
I watched myself and my own children do those things. I'm like, who the hell are you? But they're my kids, and they're still good at heart. Have they done not so savory things? Sure, they're growing up.
But then again, what does all that stuff in their past, if it's him getting pulled over and getting a stop sign ticket or a drinking ticket, what does that have to do with the fact he's missing?
Right.
It,
Exactly.
it doesn't. And that's where
Nothing.
people still get so lost in all of this. That doesn't have anything to do with any of it. What we
It
have to focus
shows
on is what happened.
it shows a character trait of Dylan, I suppose.
Yeah.
But does it show all of Dylan? No.
Yeah.
How could it?
Hmm.
So I mean, with my own children, I currently at this very moment I have an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old that will be 20 next month, a 22-year-old. And they all do their own things. I'm like, oh wait, hold up, let me talk about that for a minute. But they're growing up and they're just doing things and they're experimenting. So seeing Dylan be this way, I'm like, okay, you know, I want to hear his speech and just the intelligence level. But am I gonna judge him on like, oh my God, look at this kid doing the worst thing ever? No, because I have kids of my own, and I was also an 18-year-old at one point. And we all do just kind of screwy things because we're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like, do I think that this video should be shared in a way that's, this is so terrible. Look at this kid. No.
Well, what really bugged me was, like Jim said on your show earlier today, he's been promoting this for 2 to 3 weeks now. And in
Uh,
his promoting of this video, he's been telling everybody that this video he had was going to flip this case on its head because it had all this information in it and it had Dylan's friends in it. And then I start hearing these other lies about how the friends that were in this video were also the friends that were in the hot tub with my dad, and that my dad did stuff to this other kid. I mean, it just blows into this whole other realm of things. And I know that the information being fed out is from Jim. He feeds that shit into other people and then they bring it out like Bob and repeat it like it's the truth. And then he pulls up this video and it's Dylan getting pulled over. It's not Dylan in a hot tub. It has nothing to do with my dad. But that's what's been being said for the last 3 weeks. And it just gets annoying. This video isn't going to change anything in this case. Nothing at all. But
yeah,
Jim's been promoting it that way for the last couple weeks.
I
It
didn't know
has
that.
nothing to do with my family. My dad had a conversation with Dylan after he got that ticket. And Dylan told him a little bit about it. But as you can see in the conversation, Dylan told my dad that it was a 7-Up can, just like he tried to tell the cop. He didn't tell my dad the whole story of it actually being a beer can. So Dylan kind of told my dad a little bit of stuff that wasn't true too. But that video has nothing to do with my dad at all. And Dylan never got in a hot tub with my dad. That was never a thing. Steve Olson didn't get in a hot tub with my dad and Dylan. There's just so many lies and rumors and shit going around. And that's the irritating part. And it comes from Jim. That's the part that bugs me. But yet he calls me and wants me to give him information. Then he turns around and lies about it. And then he tells me he wasn't lying about it. Yes, he was. And yes, he has. And he continues to do it. And I get sick of it. And I did answer my phone 2 weeks ago when he called because I didn't know who it was at first. And I answered it. And he's like, oh, this is Jim Terry. And I'm like, oh, okay. I talked to him for a few minutes. I didn't give him no information to help him out. I'm not willing to. I don't feel like he needs anything because all he's done is twist things and try to turn it back on people that are innocent. And I'm sick of it.
Tay, not to interrupt, I'm listening to everything you say. Lee would love somebody that I highly just respect. So she comments in and she says, always remember there's probably a camera and audio on you. Smile, so, or somewhere, so smile. True. Because anything you say on social media and blah, blah, blah is going to be recorded. If it's falsely recorded and put out there, it can be easily disputed, and that channel can be taken down. There's been a lot of things said. A lot of things said. I think because I have not watched it, but with Salty and Jim and Kurt and once that stuff started happening, I was like, yep, I'm out. I have nothing to do with any of this. Not getting involved, not doing any of this because I know how these people operate. And I want nothing to do with any of this bullshit. And it just creates a whole world of nonsense. I mean, again, we're all here for a single purpose, which is Dylan. So if he's not going to be the main focus, well, what's the point? Yes, James Brunner, I want to know where his animals went. I do want to know that perspective, but ultimately, it is always going to be about Dylan disappearing or, such. So I just kind of get really quiet sometimes. There's been live streams that I've watched about Dylan, and I'm like, yeah, no, not listening to that. Like, you're way behind. I've talked to people that are intimately involved in this, and that there's none of that. But you know, Jim comes and produces video, and it's real, it's live, it is legitimate. But I have to ask myself the question, and the detective asked me, for what? What will this do for Dylan's case? And my reaction back to that was well, I don't know what it will do to Dylan's case, but Kurt has always described him as aggressive or forward, things of that nature. Not a scared male, basically. So this video of Brenner, with the blood up and down his arms, and then potentially sawing his head off, complete rumor. Please do not take that as fact. That is a rumor, but that it is a rumor. That is some of the video footage that they had, and also that it's potentially 2 hours long. I don't know. I'm not confirming that. Just let that hang where it hangs. But yeah, there's a lot of things there. So I've always questioned. I mean, Tay's on the phone. I've talked to Tay for about a year now. I've always questioned, like, what did Kurt know after the fact? Because again, I'll say it for like the 16th time at this live stream, that Brenner never struck me as an intelligent man. He would strike me as a person that was just blab off at the mouth. Kurt doesn't strike me as a type of guy, but he strikes me as the type of guy that I don't know if I want to be involved in this. So, there's that question, but the answer ultimately is that, and I remind these people, and I'll remind, hey, this may be the 6th time on this freaking stream, but there's been one person that has been arrested, implemented, charged with Dylan Rounds' first degree murder, and that is James Brenner, and no one else. So we can have all the theories in the world, but that is reality. Tay, if you want to talk on it, I will appreciate it because I have to take a bathroom break.
Okay.
Yeah, please do. I mean, many people think that your father is involved. I've had my own questions. I've spoke them freely. But reality is reality, and speculation is speculation, and there's a huge difference.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of speculation, which I think a lot of that is because law enforcement has not done press releases. I've seen other cases where they do a press release every day, and here we can't get Box Elder to even say anything. It's like they just want to hide, and I don't understand why either. But I hope that when they do this trial for Jim, if they do a trial, that it is streamed so that all of us can watch it. That would be great. It may be something that they block because of the nature of things that may be shown. I hope not. But I mean, if I had the ability to go sit in court just to watch it all, I would. But I don't. I don't have the ability to just step away from my life for weeks to go sit in a courtroom either. But I don't know much about Box Elder other than I just don't see that they're doing the press releases like most other places do when they have big cases like this. I'm not sure why they stay so quiet and what their problem is. I mean, you would think they would come out and simply make a press release with different things, but I guess they feel like their charging documents is enough. I I don't know. I don't understand with them.
I am back. I was listening to the last probably 30 seconds of what you were saying.
Well, this Tony 801 right here is trying to say that I was always in all the first interviews with my dad. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. There was a few that I would get on, but I wasn't in all of them. There was many that he did, just like he did one with Jess and I wasn't involved. He did the one with Ellen and on Jim's show. He did another one on Bellevue's show. I wasn't
I
involved.
mean, I'll be very honest, and I think Tay, you'll co-sign this, but I am the first YouTuber that you actually talked to
Yeah, you
for
were.
quite a while. And I never had you on. I asked. You weren't really comfortable. You did want to go on with Sav Girl. Me and Kurt linked up that night. I had quite a bit to drink and said, "Hey, what's normal for him?" And we went live. You know, so yeah, that's happened. But you know, I've talked to Jeff Ross. That's later on this case. There's a reason that you're going to hear the people that are close to this case say that name, Jeff or Ross, yada yada. You're going to hear me say it. You're going to hear Taylina say it. You're going to hear Salty say it. You're going to hear Jim Terry say it. But it's because we've all had interactions with him. Um, and at the end of the day, you have to understand there has been one man and one man only that's been implicated in this crime, and that is James Brenner. No matter what Kurt says, Tay, no matter what Jim says, no matter what I say, no matter what anybody says, this is a leading agency on this case, and this is what they came up with. So you know, Kurt, feeling for his friend or friends, can feel a certain sympathy. Taylina, knowing these people again, me not knowing these people, but I'm going straight by what the FBI and what the leading agencies in this have said, which is James Brenner is the one and sole suspect. It's a fact.
No,
It's not speculation.
nope.
No, I know, Ted. I mean, and again, this is why I figure our conversation was so important earlier, was because you and your dad, you know, especially your dad, being friends with Brenner and things like that, so hard to, you know, put together in your mind. What do you mean? So you're telling me that my friends killed my other friend, decapitated him? Well, what the hell is that? You know, there's some denial in that. There's some not wanting to believe in that because it's hard to believe. But like I said to you earlier, you know, I hope that Kurt stops saying that because it makes people look at him guiltily. And I don't feel like he's trying to do that. I feel like he's trying to wrap his head around what the hell is that?
Well, and that's the thing. He can't. He hasn't been able to process it to a point he can accept it.
Right, right.
And he will eventually get to that point. He just hasn't yet. And everybody processes things different, and it may take him a couple years. Who knows? You know, it's just this isn't something he's ever had to deal with in the past. He doesn't have some sort of pre-programming that says, "Oh, this is how you deal with this." So it may take a while. It's just one of those things that to be seen. We don't know. You know, I've seen people who see all the evidence and they still are like, but how? You know, I can't accept that. Some people's minds just don't want to accept certain things. That doesn't mean he's got any guilt. That doesn't mean that Jim didn't do it, because obviously he's going to be proven one way or the other. It just means Kurt hasn't figured out in his mind how to accept it. And people are just going to have to accept that too. He is who he is. And our own experiences in our own lives are what helps us deal with things. And he hasn't had a tragedy like this to deal with this. He's never lost a kid. He's never lost, you know, someone that was really close to him other than, you know, grandparents. And they get old and they die, and it's something you expect. He's never had this kind of death. He had a child that was stillborn, and that was the most of his experiences with death, let alone murder. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother realm to go into. And when you have to think about the fact that you were friends with both parties and you lived with one of those parties, and now they've been accused of doing this, that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to accept. It's going to take him time, and it's just going to be that way. And regardless of how other people feel, it doesn't change the fact that he's not guilty. There's nothing there. He's not ever been a suspect. He's, you know, and just like Jim on your show
I
earlier
have
coming
to
out and
agree with
saying, Jim
I
earlier was
mean, as
saying that it
much
was
as
bull
Kurt
crap that
knew, he has never once, in my opinion, ever been named a suspect. That's a fact. That is
and
a
that's
fact.
and like Jim saying, well, if I would have had a roommate and then they were suspected of something, of killing this other person, and I would have went right to the cops and told them that he was staying here. How does Jim know what was said in the 3 interviews before the FBI came into this? How does Jim know? He doesn't know. And what was said to the cops didn't turn around and tell Candace. So just because Candace didn't know that Dylan had stayed there does not mean that my dad didn't tell the officers that were there that Dylan had been staying there. And it wasn't an every night
I'm
thing.
pretty positive that I entered this case before the FBI did. I'm pretty positive that our conversations predate that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was talking to you before the FBI came in.
No, come in, please. I'm sorry. Jason was going to ask a question. Yes.
Can we set up a pool?
Set up what?
A pool.
It's not cool weather, son. Maybe next weekend or next. He's trying to set up the pool, Taylor. He's trying to set up the pool. You're a little early, okay?
But hey, it's him that gets to freeze.
He's like, can we set up the pool? And I'm like, no. Like, I mean, just because it's my birthday weekend, he's standing here. He's staring at me like a grown-ass man. He's 11. He's staring at me like, I'm trying to intimidate you right now. I'm sorry that I gave birth to you and you don't intimidate me at all. Like I said, next weekend, potentially, probably the weekend after. Love you so much. Oh, well, he's right. So my 11-year-old is going with his grandma. Jace, come and talk about it. He's going with his grandma down to Alabama. And you have to remember that, I live in Delaware. So we have this super blue state. He's going down to Alabama, super red state. How do you feel about it, son? Go ahead, speak on it.
Can't wait to leave Delaware. It's so warm. Dry down here.
It's dry down here. It's
I'm
not.
up here.
Yeah.
It's dry.
It's
There's nothing to do. Delaware's just boring.
Well, what do you mean by dry? Like, what's that?
Like, there's nothing to do.
So we do nothing.
I mean, like, in the summer.
Yeah, he's trying to like click through my thing now. Like, get out of my YouTube room. Bye. You can down with your press. Listen, this child goes down to his grandma's for the summer and gains like 25 pounds. She's like steadily feeds him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Go make some ramen or go do something with your life. She just makes these home cooked meals like every freaking. Oh look, he's standing up, patting his stomach. Like every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh yes,
breakfast,
grandma is cooking up some things.
Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner.
Oh, he's giving a full
Dessert.
timeline. Go ahead, son. Talk about your grandma. So what does she do with
So
food?
my day in Alabama.
Yeah, your day in Alabama.
So I wake up. I fold the blankets and everything. All that. Bam Bam's already up before me.
Bam is his cousin.
And I'm always the last to get up in the whole house. So, and then I eat my Cheerios with 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Instead of 1.
I feel like he'd do better with waffles, but go ahead.
I eat like 1 or 2 bowls of Cheerios with sugar.
I took this child out for an entire breakfast the other day. Was in that bag.
Yeah.
Okay, but speaking of Cheerios, go ahead.
And
go ahead.
then I go play video games until like I'm hungry again.
Until he's hungry again.
I'm
Around
really sorry that Joy Perry has fallen into all these lies and all this twisted bullshit.
Go ahead. He's not ready for this conversation. So we're gonna have it as it is.
I game for like 7 or 8 hours.
Games for 7 or 8 hours. Concerning. Go ahead, son.
I eat some chips for a snack. Or like
Some chips for a snack.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
like
what
a-
does
or
Grandma
like a
feed you
PB&J
for dinner?
No, I haven't had lunch yet.
Oh my God! It's not even a lunch.
And then we have lunch. We have lunch at like 6, and then
Lunch is at like 12. So okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Just speak about it.
when I game, I don't get.
I'm like slowly changing my mind about you going down there with her.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Okay, so
And then I eat lunch. I eat like a PB&J or a sandwich, turkey sandwich, exact.
at 6 o'clock.
No crust,
Well, what time is dinner?
like 9. And at dinner, like
Wow.
my favorite dinner down there, KFC, big bucket of
KFC, big bucket.
big bucket of KFC, mashed potatoes, gravy, mac and cheese.
So you don't miss Mommy's like homemade potatoes, like homemade like grilled meat, like.
I ain't trying to hate on your cooking.
Oh my
Your
God.
cooking is second place.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I'm gonna take this L.
No.
I'm just gonna take it.
Grandma-
No, you
Grandma's
sorry
cooking
your
is-
bro out yourself out the YouTube room. You sorry me, bro.
Can
Whatever.
I read your chat?
No. I mean, you reach out if you want. But you just literally started me, bro, and kicked me out for grandma.
It's just like,
Spoken.
Grandma,
It's just like,
I don't know. She makes homemade nachos.
I'm
She
gonna
makes
clip this
homemade
and just send it to
lasagna.
her because it's live.
She makes homemade lasagna.
Homemade lasagna. Okay, what else?
Homemade nachos. And
Jace goes back every year like 20 pounds heavier.
and she got a basketball court, so I'm gonna stay fit.
He really does. It's so ridiculous. Okay, get out of my YouTube room. It's fine. I love you so much. I'm definitely gonna clip this and send it to your grandma. So she knows how much she feeds you and all
Please
that
do
good
it.
stuff. Well, I will. I mean,
Okay.
she loves you to death.
Bye, chat.
Bye, Chad. Bye. Love you so much.
Bye.
And he's like, yeah, I'm going to Alabama. He's leaving on June 8th, so he's going for the summer until he comes back. And he's just like, yeah. So she makes this, you don't. And he's basically just telling me on a live stream, like, she cooks better than you. It's not hate, it's just, it's constructive criticism. So I'll take that as I will. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about right now. But anyway, does anyone want to come up? I need a guest. I'm going to put a pasting of the link to click on. So you click on it, and you're right to guess. I honestly don't. I kind of avoid this stream since my birthday. Because Dylan's case just gets me every time. What's that? I'm sorry. Okay, is that my problem? Oh, okay. Well, what do you want to eat? Call Carolyn. I don't know. What do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? I'll take you out to eat.
Hey, Dad, she'll take us out to eat.
Hey, Dad, she'll take us out to eat. Yeah, that's me. Thank you guys. Yeah, my birthday was yesterday, so I officially turned to 30 or fucking Christ, 42. Um, happy birthday, Cluckers, Dale.
Is Chick-fil-A Tuesday?
No, it's Monday.
No, because it's Memorial Day.
Yeah, it's Monday. They might be. Look them up. If they're not, I have an app for their food.
Okay.
If anybody cash at me, you guys are getting that. Just so you know, like I'm just telling you. Merry Christmas, Dale. Oh, Miss Canada said I should never be on piano, so I will. Oh, please. Being like, you guys see, like I haven't even camed up yet, and I don't feel like it. You guys know exactly what I look like. So, I mean, if you want to be on panel, like just speaking about what you feel, but I'm not really a person that requires that you cam up. I don't give a shit, honestly, because I'm not cammed up. I mean, I could, and here I am, a little bandsuit cover up or some bullshit. He's had a great weekend. It was my birthday weekend. I thought heavily about Dylan. There's a lot of mixed emotions, but I just had a good time with my family and friends. And then always in the backstory in my head was like Dylan. So it's been like that. It's been like that ever since. Do I need to come back up? Yeah, not for you two. Sure. Click the link. Come on up. I'd like to hear everybody's opinions about what they think about things because we're all so different. Like I have my own reasons for being connected to this case and just kind of mentally what it did to me. I've said it a lot of times, but oh, Tay's back. Let's add her. Hi, love.
Hello, I got kicked out somehow. Everything just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just everything went blank, but so yeah, I was just talking about how, like, this piece for me, I think I told you way back when that just him going missing on my birthday was really fucked up to me. And then when I learned that, you knew him and your dad knew him, we just got into deeper and deeper discussions about it.
Yeah. You might want to either address Joy Perry or just take her out of your chat. I don't know what's wrong with that woman.
What's going on?
She
Uh,
just
Joy Perry. Well, let's read her.
yeah, she's one of those people that have been all over.
I'm with Jesse. That's the name that I won't be called. You call me Jess or Jessica. Timeline with Jesse. You have no respect. You don't want to believe certain Volvo. Do you want to have that fucking Taylina up in your panel and believe in her? Fuck you both. I mean, listen, fuck you. Because I'll tell you right now, what was her name? Whatever her name was.
Joy Perry.
Whatever that person's name was. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in contact with these people since the beginning of this case. There's a lot of things I know and don't know. But I called Tay up today. She answered. I've talked to Jim today. He answered. We fought. Actually, both times we talked. He came on here and was like a complete cunt. But these are not people that are unfamiliar to me. So you see what you see, and I know what I know. You may be woke, but I'm fucking awake. So take that as you will.
But she definitely was dropped as a child on her head.
Again, if you're woke, I'm awake. Bye. I just don't have time for that bullshit. Oh, was that your kid in a different life? What the fuck are you talking about? Tay, I think me and you were discussing privately behind the scenes case. I want to say maybe 2 weeks after Dylan went missing.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Somewhere about that. So get fucked. And there's a lot of things that have just not been talked about publicly. And if you want to talk about them, we can talk about them. If not, then we won't.
Well, it's
But
just
it is what
a
it
lot
is.
of lies and drama and shit that people want to twist and change and
Because
run their
they
own
love
narrative
that
with.
shit. They love it. They love the drama.
And
These
I'm
people
sick of it.
say all day long, I don't like the drama. That's not what I'm about. Yes, you are. You absolutely are. Like you're
Yeah.
lying to yourself with this bullshit. Because I've said this for a long fucking time. They just love the drama. They'll follow all of it, and they're like, oh my god, why is there so much drama in this case? Why do you think? It's because of people like you that follow a bunch of bullshit.
And I've never tried to run on lies or do any of that shit. I've tried to be honest and answer people's questions in any chat that I go into. I don't have anything to hide, but I'm not going to sit on a panel with people that are making up lies about me and twisting shit for their own narrative. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, there's no reason for you to do it. I mean, there's been straight up questions that I've had for you, and we've talked a lot, like just behind the scenes. I always wanted to make sure I was okay with you to ask whatever I want to ask, like on air. But I always knew it was a mistake for you, and I said it to you earlier to go on with Salty or any of those people. They're gonna exploit you in every way, shape, and possible. They're just gonna do that.
It's just been
So,
such a weird whirlwind with all this. You don't know who to trust and who not to trust. You don't know who's going to try to exploit you. You don't know who's going to make up lies about you. You just don't know.
hope you have learned.
Well,
I
and
was
most
I
of the
was you from
time,
the beginning.
when you personally meet someone and they speak to you personally and they get to know you that way in an actual face-to-face conversation, you don't expect those kind of people just to turn around and make up total lies about you. But it's happened. So it's just kind of, I don't know who to trust in this. I don't know who not to and who to. It's been a hard thing. This YouTube's not been my game. This wasn't something I was into. I kind of got drug into it with this case and never even knew that the side of this like this existed. Yeah, the Snook says for some reason JT trusted me and threw my name out there. He's awfully mad at me because I won't come on his panel and I won't talk to him because I don't like the bullshit that he does. I don't like how he changes his stories and makes up lies and twists shit. I don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it, and I have told him that. So I don't know, why you're saying he definitely trusted me, but I I have no clue. I don't care much for the man when all he wants to do is sit and twist shit. I have had a few civil conversations with Jim, a few, when he can keep himself civil. He has a really hard time with that, and I don't want to deal with his drama. So if he can't keep himself civil, I got no reason to talk to him. None at all. I'm not there for his lies. I'm not there for his narratives. I'm not there to get him clicks and views. So I don't want to be on his panel. I don't want any part of his show because of that. If he would approach people in a different manner with a little bit of respect, it would be different. But for months now, he's done nothing but make up lies about me. I don't want anything to do with him if that's what he's going to do. Why would I waste my time with someone I know is already out there making up lies about me? But yes, he likes Jess. They've talked a lot too. Is that who you're talking about throwing her name out with everything? Yeah. And for the most part, they talk and whatnot, but she, just like most others, only puts up with so much. So Jim just has a really hard time staying civil. If Jim learned how to be civil, I don't mind having a conversation with him, but I don't appreciate him coming on a panel, talking to me, and then turning around and going to his show and telling lies. I don't like it. It's just he's not good at that part. I don't even see Jim in your comments. I don't know if he's coming on. I don't even know where Jess just went. Where'd you go, Jess? She didn't say she was even leaving. Does anyone else have any other questions? Because I've got other things that I've got to go do today. I've got my husband who I need to be taking care of also. So, if nobody's got any more questions that they can think of, I'll get down and let someone else come up if they want to. I don't know why people like Joy Perry doesn't come up on the panel and actually talk to me versus just accusing me of shit too. You know, if most people would talk to me, they would understand.
I'm back up. Just to hop out for a minute. My kids, I have children. So, but Jim can leave
too.
and I will hop. Do what you want to do, Jim. So I'm not worried about it. Jim likes to get himself in trouble. I like to speak facts. We're not built the same. I told him that earlier. We had two argumentative shits and shitted out on each other. But the ultimate thing was that we disagree. And we can disagree. But I want to hear what your legitimate reason for disagreeing is. Your disagreeing cannot be, oh, F Candace Cooley and F Taylina, and I hope they both died of fire. And that's not what he said, but essentially, that's not what you can say. I want to hear some legitimate shit, and I want to hear what you have to say. So, in my opinion, at this point, you, Tay, have been on. You've spoken what you've had to speak. Jim could have chimed in any damn minute he wanted to. He's not going to because he shouldn't. But no, I mean, I think you answered the question about the horse. I think you answered the question about your dog or Bronner's dog. I think you've answered the question about why your dad is in extreme denial. And that's a big one. That's a big one for me. It was a big one for me. You know, why the hell is Kurt? Like, I talked to Kurt way before anybody ever talked to Kurt. But why the hell is Kurt, like, you know, taking up for James Brenner? What the hell is that? You know, but when I sit back and think about it, if one of my friends committed a murder against another one of my friends and potentially chopped them up and did a bunch of shit, I think I might be in a little bit of denial as well. Like, no way. Are you kidding me? Are you shitting me? Like, what the hell? So, you know, Jim has a video of Dylan, 43 minutes long. Dylan and JD. And for those of you that don't know who JD was Dylan's right around Dylan's age and his best friend. This was in September of 2021. So yeah, maybe how many months does that take? From September to May 28th of being missing. December, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So maybe about 8 months from the point that Dylan went missing. So again, my interest was solely in, and the detective was on the line for this, was solely in seeing Dylan's affect. I didn't feel like I need to make this public. I wanted to see what his speech pattern was like, this and that. I ended up speaking to Tay, and so here we are. But it's not a hit piece on Dylan. I'll be very honest. Taylor has dropped, so I'll be extremely honest. From the beginning of this case, if it were my son that went missing, would I come out guns a blazing of, my son's a terrible person. He did this and this and this, and we all, we're all mad about this. No. I'm going to come out and say my son's missing. He loved to rap. He loved to draw. Everything good about my younger son, I'm going to say that. But is the picture of what's been built about Dylan been accurate? No. That is a very simple answer, but it's the truth. There's a lot about Dylan Rounds that is just extremely nuanced. And I've talked about that before. Was Dylan just this great farm kid, just want to farm all the freaking time and that's it? No. Nope. Many, many other stories, many other people. That's just simply not true. That's just not what he did with his time. Did he work on a farm in his spare time? Sure. Yep, he did. But go back to yourself at 18, 19 years old and talk about it. You're learning yourself. You're learning what you're doing. You may be working. You may be fucking up. You may be doing a bit of both. I think Dylan was doing a bit of both. So, with this last, there's a last picture of Dylan that will always bother me. It's a picture of him, the last known picture of him with the hamburger, cheeseburger, whatever it was. He looked skinny. He looked unkempt. He looked unruly. That's all I can say. It's just my general observation of that picture. But hearing from the people that were around Dylan at that time, a lot of drinking, potential drug use, things like that. So, this is not a let's paint the victim as a bad person. But if something happened to me, right? Let's just be honest. If something happened to me, that'd be really shitty, clearly for my children. But if the people that knew me the closest painted me as an angel, please know they're lying, because I'm not a freaking angel. Like, I've done things wrong. I'm just a normal human. I made bad decisions. I made good decisions, all around. Probably more good than bad at this point because of my age. And so it brings me back to Dylan with his young age, that he probably made more bad than good. Probably. But who am I to say? We have to wait for this trial. Jim, you want to be a little bitch and not come on and play your little video and yada yada yada. So be it. So be it, Jim. But whatever happens in this case, ultimately, I hope that Dylan's parents, his siblings, his grandfather, his grandmother, his aunts, they all see justice. Because I don't give a damn that Dylan was gay or not gay or a simp or not a simp or whatever he was. He didn't deserve death. He didn't deserve murder. And we can argue about that all day long, but he didn't. And as much suspicion as I've openly had about Kurt, I have to say that Taylina is still willing to come on shows. Kurt stopped that, according to Tay, months ago. But her willingness to still come on and still talk to people, I think, says a lot. So we will see this case through. It's definitely going to be a focal point for me and what I've seen that's happened. But for now, I'm going to end this live stream, and I hope you all do well. Have a